Good evening and welcome to NFL Trending. I'm Roger, and tonight we spotlight a familiar face in a new chapter of his career. The Cleveland Browns came away with a Week 3 victory, and while the final score leaned in their favor, the story making headlines is veteran quarterback Joe Flacco. His numbers weren't spectacular, but his presence, leadership, and ability to manage the game are raising important conversations about the Browns' direction this season. Let's break it all down. The Cleveland Browns entered Week 3 with plenty of questions on the offensive side of the ball. Injuries and inconsistency have defined much of their recent history, and this season is no different. But when the final whistle blew in Sunday's matchup, the Browns stood tall with a victory, thanks in part to Joe Flacco. Now, when fans hear Flacco's name, they immediately think of experience. The 39-year-old quarterback has been around this league for over a decade, with a Super Bowl MVP under his belt and countless battles against some of the league's best. But in this particular game, the stat sheet told only part of the story. Flacco's numbers were modest. He didn't light up the scoreboard with deep passes or jaw-dropping touchdowns. Instead, he delivered a performance that was calm, efficient, and steady. He finished with a completion percentage hovering just above the mid-50s, a single touchdown pass, and an interception that kept the opposing defense alive. To the casual fan, that might not look impressive. But for the Browns, it was exactly what they needed. The real question surrounding Flacco isn't whether he can put up big numbers. Those days are behind him. Instead, it's whether he can guide this Browns team with composure, manage the offense, and allow the defense to do what it does best, dominate games. And that's precisely what unfolded in Week 3. Cleveland's defense once again showed its teeth, creating turnovers, applying pressure, and setting the tone. That allowed Flacco to settle in, avoid unnecessary risks, and steer the ship safely toward a win. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The Browns have been searching for stability at quarterback for what feels like forever. Injuries, suspensions, and off-field controversies have derailed seasons before they could even get going. And while Joe Flacco isn't the long-term answer, he may be the steadying force they need right now. Browns fans understand the frustration of wasted defensive efforts. For years, this franchise has fielded talented pass rushers and secondary players, only to see the offense sputter. That's why Flacco's modest, no-frills approach feels refreshing. He isn't trying to be the hero. He's just trying to keep the team moving forward. And sometimes, that's exactly what a playoff-hopeful franchise requires. Of course, critics are quick to point out that modest numbers won't be enough against the league's elite. When you face Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson, field goals and cautious passing won't always get the job done. But in the grind of an NFL season, consistency matters. And right now, Flacco is offering Cleveland consistency. His connection with the wide receivers is still developing. Amari Cooper continues to be the top target, and in Week 3, he was once again reliable in key situations. Elijah Moore and the younger receivers are still finding their chemistry with the veteran quarterback, but you can see progress with each passing week. Flacco's quick release and ability to read defenses give his playmakers chances to move the chains, even if the big plays aren't there yet. The running game also plays an important role in complementing Flacco's style. Without Nick Chubb, the Browns' ground attack has leaned on a committee approach, and in Week 3, that meant grinding out tough yards to keep the defense honest. Flacco benefited from that balance, as it allowed him to work off play action and control the tempo of the game. Now let's zoom in on the locker room. Reports from inside the Browns camp suggest Flacco's presence has been calming. Younger players look up to him. He's been through playoff runs, tough losses, and high-pressure moments. When he speaks, teammates listen. That leadership cannot be understated, especially in a locker room trying to build confidence after years of turbulence. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. One victory in Week 3 doesn't crown Cleveland as Super Bowl contenders. There are still glaring concerns. Flacco's arm strength isn't what it used to be, and if defenses stack the box to force him to throw deep, can the Browns adjust? The offensive line has also shown some cracks, particularly in pass protection. Against stronger defensive fronts, Flacco will need to release the ball quickly and avoid costly turnovers. Yet here we are, 3 weeks into the season, and Cleveland sits with a winning record. That matters. In a brutal AFC North division, where every win feels like gold, the Browns have positioned themselves as legitimate competitors. Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh are all dangerous in their own ways. But Cleveland's formula, defense first, steady quarterback play, and timely offensive execution, is giving them a fighting chance. Let's also consider what this means for the long-term quarterback conversation in Cleveland. Joe Flacco isn't the future. But if he can buy this team time, steady the offense, and keep them in contention, he may help set the table for whoever comes next. And in the NFL, timing is everything. Nationally, analysts are divided. Some say Flacco's modest numbers prove he's a liability waiting to be exposed. Others argue that in a league obsessed with flashy stats, we overlook the value of stability. It's an old school versus new school debate. Is it better to have a quarterback who takes risks and lights up the stat sheet, or one who avoids mistakes and leans on a dominant defense? For Cleveland right now, the answer seems obvious. The fan reaction has been equally fascinating. Social media is buzzing with takes ranging from cautious optimism to outright skepticism. Some fans appreciate Flacco's steadiness, while others worry it won't hold up against tougher opponents. That tension perfectly captures the state of the Browns, hopeful, but still unsure. Looking ahead, the Browns' schedule doesn't get any easier. Divisional matchups will test Flacco's limits. Defenses will adjust, daring him to beat them downfield. And head coach Kevin Stefanski will need to continue designing game plans that highlight Flacco's strengths while minimizing his weaknesses. If Cleveland can maintain balance and stay healthy, they'll remain in the playoff picture. At the end of the day, Joe Flacco's Week 3 performance might not make highlight reels. It won't dominate fantasy football conversations. But it was a reminder that sometimes, modest numbers can still lead to meaningful victories. For a franchise that has too often crumbled under pressure, this version of Flacco, poised, controlled, and experienced, might be exactly what they need. So as we wrap up tonight's top story, here's the takeaway. Joe Flacco didn't dazzle, but he delivered. The Browns didn't just win a game, they gained something even more valuable, belief that steady hands can guide them through turbulent waters. In the NFL, that belief can be the difference between another disappointing season and a legitimate playoff run.